Hey guys, Marshmallow Trump here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links video, and today I'm going to be going over my top 3 underrated level 6 synchro monsters, mainly because it's probably one of the easiest levels to bring out, as you often get level 2 tuners and level 4 monsters. They're like some of the most common ones, so basically I'm just going to be going over my top 3 and 1 honourable mention. And let's get into it. So at number 3 is Gravity Warrior. Now if you want to get Gravity Warrior, you have to buy the Synchro Connection structure deck, which if you didn't get it like pretty early on, most people aren't going to get it because it's not the greatest. I do quite like it, but it's not the greatest. But what this card does is it gains 300 attack points for each face-up monster your opponent controls when it's brought out. So if they have a full board and you can just bring out one Gravity Warrior, that's a 900 attack boost, putting him at 3000, which is really solid for a level 6. But his other effects is what makes him stand out. Once per turn during your opponent's battle phase, you can target one defense position monster they control, change it to attack, and it must attack if able. Now, you might think, well, if they're going to be fighting and they've got a defense position monster, they're probably going to take you out anyway. But I've been in many occasions where people have been in a really heavy defensive stance. I've got my junk deck most likely with Gravity Warrior on the field, and they just hit battle before they hit end phase, not actually wanting to do any battle, but you could just force one of their cards that are in defense to fight any of your cards. And if you've got only a Gravity Warrior with like 3000 and say their monster has 0 attack, that's a big chunk. And if they've used something like Cosmic Cyclone, you've won the duel through the fact that they've just hit battle. Now I know that's a very idealistic thing, but even if it's not like that scenario, you will get it in use many times when people aren't even doing any battle. And it is just a really easy to bring out solid monster that if people do know about, they're going to have to think about it quite a lot. So my honourable mention is because I don't think this is as good as the others, and it is quite a popular one. That is why it's not in my top 3 underrated, because it's not used loads, but I wouldn't class it as underrated. But I would like to just give it some hype, basically. It is HTS Saihemoth, basically because it's like DD Warrior Lady, where after damage calculation, after this has had a battle, you can banish both of these cards. Now, the reason that's good is because you can just go into something bigger and banish them both, obviously. But if they're running something really weird that just keeps reviving itself over and over, like Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, you can take it out or crash with this monster and then banish them both, so that stops their revival. So if you're not running something like Ishizu skill where you can turn everything into Skull Servants, this is another way to lock them out of the constant revival of the Phoenix. And with quite a big rise of that, as not only are there a lot of U-Bell decks still around, but there's Fire Kings which are using the Phoenix as well, and stuff like that. So as there's more archetypes that can run the Fire King and Phoenix kind of setup, this card is just becoming more useful, and if you don't have one, I'd recommend trying to get one, because it's one that's only going to get better as time goes on. If you want to know how to get it, I got it in Selection Box 2, but it's also in Valhalla Calling. I only have one. I don't think you'll ever really need more than one, but it is just a really good, quick panic removal, and it could be to get something big or something small that's tricky. It's just really good at just guaranteed removal. Next up is Iron Chain Dragon. I love this. This is probably my favourite one to play because it is so fun. It's level 6, as all of them are. again, it only needs one tuner and one or more non-tuner. This is what I mean by just generics, because all of them only require one tuner or one or more non-tuner that add up to 6. The reason these are generics is because you don't need any archetypes or attributes in play, so you can run them in any deck that has enough levels to make a level 6 synchro, which means you can put them in pretty much anything that has any synchro capabilities. So Iron Chain Dragon, why is it so good? Now you have to ignore the first effect if you aren't running Iron Chain, because I mean, let's face it, it never really got enough cards to be really good, which is a shame because they are really cool. However, it's still a really good monster with its other effect. But the first effect, if you do want to run Iron Chain, is you can remove from play all Iron Chain monsters from your grave to have this card gain 200 attack for each card removed until the end phase. Now you might be thinking, oh, that's terrible, but I mean, even if you're just running multiple Iron Chain Dragons, that can be a nice little 200 boost. Or if you use something like Iron Chain Coil as your tuner, because actually that's quite an underrated tuner as well in my opinion, you could get another 200 boost here and there. If you're running 3 of both and this is your last, well, that's going to be 5 Iron Chain monsters and you're not even really using an Iron Chain deck. So that's 1,000, putting it at 3,500. But let's face it, you're probably not going to do that. So its other effect, which makes it really good, is when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, send the top 3 cards of their deck to the grave. Now this one is really fun, and I just love seeing what I can just rip from the deck. Sometimes it's really good stuff, like, I don't know, maybe a Drowning Mirror Force or a Sphere Karibo. However, the reason this isn't at the number 1 spot, because in my opinion this is the most fun synchro that I've used in all Yu-Gi-Oh! The reason this isn't the best, in my opinion, is mainly because of the fact that if you take something like a Whitestone of Ancients or Whitestone of Legend from the top of their deck, that's going to activate their effect and give them a Blue Eyes to their hand or field, and obviously Blue Eyes is stronger than Iron Chain Dragon, so you may have accidentally just let them win. So although it is incredibly fun and it's still worth having a go using, I mean sometimes Iron Chain Dragon is the reason I win in the long game, because I took off like 6 cards from their deck, meaning they didn't have as many turns. Or if you're going against a Blue Eyes Cross Light Swarm and they've thinned their deck out really thin to get a really good board, if you can just get 100 damage over, you can finish their deck off. So that's why you would use it, but just do be careful on who you use it against, and then you're not benefiting them more than yourself. But all that in mind, it's really good. And if you want to know how to get it, it's from Revolution Beginning, which I believe with the new box coming soon, bringing more Karakuri cards, and Revolution Beginning being the second release of Karakuri cards in the game, I mean, a lot of you, if you're going for that deck, will probably end up with an Iron Chain Dragon anyway, so just give it a shot, it's great. But for the number 1 underrated level 6 generic synchro, it's White Aura Dolphin. This is one like Iron Chain Dragon where you can't really use both effects if you're just using it as a generic, but it's still worthwhile. Because all you have to do is once per turn you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes half its original attack until the end of the turn. Now this is incredible. For something to not be beat by this, if they're not using traps, if it's just a one-on-one monster battle, it's going to have over 4,800 original attack points. Now, there's nothing in Duel Links that has an original attack of that. Now, you might be thinking, well, there's the God cards and Sacred Beasts, which can get up to like 13,000. But if you saw that I put emphasis on original attack, their original attack is 0. So half of 0 is 0. So that just wipes all the stats down right at the bottom. And then you can do 2,400 if their monster was a Sacred Beast or God. Actually, I tell a lie, Obelisk's 4,000. But you get the point, even that can't withstand an attack from White or a Dolphin. That's going to do some damage. And it's really good when you're in a tight spot. If you're managing to stall out and get a quick synchro out that's level 6, White or a Dolphin is the best one. My only problem with it is that it doesn't have any spell or trap protection just in the card. You'll have to provide that yourself, and that is a problem because it is kind of your last resort, and obviously you don't want it to be failing, but again, it is a last resort, so you don't really have any other choice. It's an amazing card. And if you're going against a Mermail deck, I know they're not common now, but it gets the buff from things like Umi and a Legendary Ocean, so that's cool when you can get that running as well. If you want to know its other effect, it's if this card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card by battle card effect, and sent to your grave, you can banish one other water monster from your grave, special summon this card, and it's treated as a tuner. So, if you're going for a synchro tuner, just spam deck with things like Coral Dragon, but you don't want to get Coral Dragon because it's an ultra rare, you could consider using White or a Dolphin and a lot of water monsters, and you could treat that as some sort of protection, as it does allow it to keep coming back. But if you're just running it in any ordinary deck, like I use in my Uriah Trap Monsters and 6 Samurai deck, they don't really work, but it's still very valid and I use it a lot. Another honourable mention is Archfiend's Call, but this is on like the top card, so this isn't underrated. It's really good though. I've been on about it before in the Uriah Synchro deck list. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I really hope some of you guys do try out some of these cards if you haven't already. Especially White or a Dolphin and Iron Chain Dragon. They are really good. If you have a Gravity Warrior, it's a guaranteed from the deck, so if you're just looking for some more level 6 synchro and you have the structure deck or have enough gems for it, just go for it. You can't really go wrong with Gravity Warrior. And yeah, stay tuned for more Yu-Gi-Oh! COD Mobile and Mario Kart Tour and more. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.